Yeah, very big welcome to you, my dear Libra. This is your reading now for the month of Gemini. The sun is in Gemini, and of course that's the lovers, and the moon is in your sign. And so we can see she sits between the two pillars of black and white, between the black and white floor. Everything in the tarot is about duality, is about how can we unite these two extreme opposites and create out of it the center, the middle, this circling energy that is going to help us to really come into our empowerment, right? Into our spiritual consciousness that is higher than all the energies that are pushing us here in this dimension. And so we see Mercury ruled, right, Gemini, and you are Venus ruled. We see that here is something going on because you are all about relationships, right? You are the seventh house of partnership. And a real partnership is understanding the value the opposite energy has in my life. And so we can see now that there is a very clear message regarding relationships, regarding self-love, regarding then being honest and being, how would Aleister Crowley say it? He says there is no justice, there just is chaos and order. And there is then the understanding that I can come and understand it, right? And be in the center of it. So let's see what this is gonna bring to us. Here I have given Gemini the pigeon pose, and I gave you the squat. You're holding yourself in front of your heart, in your own judgment, in your own center, guided by the sword above you and the yin and yang symbol underneath, right? And so here, this is the Lightseer Tarot, and this is the Golden Dawn Tarot. I have listed all the cards that I'm using down below. Then, of course, your court card is the Queen of Swords. Is your birthday between September 12th and October 12th, then this is your court card. Here in this deck, she is quite brutal in the Rider-Waite that I usually use. She is actually a little more gentle, right? But here, I mean, we can see she cuts off the ego, and the ego of course the male, right? That is sometimes bringing us to the verge of like the war, the dominance, the energy of what we sometimes have to endure underneath a masculine force, right? Interesting enough, here with this card, I always feel like I want to turn it around because of her hair. And then she is the light, right? She is above. Here, it's interesting, he is the dark and she is the light. And nevertheless, they need each other. They want each other, and they learn the most from each other. So if they would have a conversation, she would be like, well, I told you. And she says, you see, I had to cut off his head because it just was getting too much. I mean, it just looks really brutal here when you see this card, right? So she's facing the right spinning path, and she sits now towards us and looking at the left spinning path. And I have two readings that I'm connecting with the spin of the earth, and the earth spins daily itself to the right around its own axis, right? Those are the daily readings, and today it's a daily reading that you're getting once a month on the day the moon is in your sign right now. And then on your full moon, you get a left spinning reading. And that's, of course, connected with the soul. Right spinning, human. Left spinning, soul. And on your full moon, you get, of course, a full moon reading. And that means you are getting all 22 major arcanas here. And I'm reading them from right to left. So that's the energy for today. Just gonna have a sip. Then I have a new deck, the Libra Healing Oracle, which is connected with the Anglo-Saxon rune alphabet. And of course they created 78 cards. And we're gonna have a look what the overall energy is for you today, with, of course, Gemini giving the light to the moon, which is in your sign, right? So remember, the 3rd house of communication and the 7th house of the partnership is now here upon your mind. Okay, so we have the card. And I had this card in Virgo's reading. The number 53, the heartache, the heart throb, heartache. It's really interesting, right? So these are the rune alphabet, and it's really astonishing also the language that is explaining this letter. And it's saying, sobbing, throbbing, dark sparks grab hold of the heart, crushing the soul's freedom. Dread threads reach out with serpentined hooked fangs that sink and pierce deep. Why, cries the shocking soul, but the deep dark hole opens wider, and anger tangles itself around, cutting harsh lines into the flesh, victimizing us. It clings and wrings out each drop of love from every thought. Now, of course, this is an air sign, and you can see the color comes very close here. And of course, you are an air sign. So there is something happening. There is a relationship. There is something in your heart that is being, through the 5 senses, challenged to give meaning or understanding to things that cannot be understood. And of course, the 3-3 portal is speaking to you right away through the Empress here. And calculated together, this is then an 8, the infinite path of the lovers, of 2 people coming together and recognizing it just never ends, it just never stops, right? And so you are being challenged. You are really being challenged to look at your emotional side. And when I turn this card around, I see here a mushroom, right? And yes, it's quite dark, this bloody heart of ours, right? There is something lurking, there is something throbbing, there is something wanting to speak to you, and we're gonna look at that in this reading. So we begin on the position of the Fool, because that's the state of consciousness that brings you through Gemini now, this idea of what am I doing? And you see how here in this deck the child is facing the left spinning and the wolf is facing the right spinning path. So of course he is standing behind the child. The child is picking up here a fruit. The number 6 is in the tree, and so of course the 6 is instantly coming in this picture, in the Fool, to you. Now here we have the Queen of Pentacles, and that's a Capricorn. I have listed all the cards that I'm using today, and of course the dates of all the court cards, so you can see who this person maybe is that is in your life. And she is also facing the left spinning path. And there is this idea of what is social status good for, because Capricorn is here to bring social status, to bring a certain financial energy to us, that we can actually then do things. And the soul is literally challenging you now. So are you gonna go with this soul energy, or are you gonna be tempted to go with the wolf that is here, right? Because for me this could also be a dog, of course, but of course it's this dark wolf. And interesting, usually in the Rider-Waite we have a white dog. So here we have a dark dog, right? And that's again very interesting with this card, because he is dark in this picture and she is light. So here we have maybe an oxymoron that is speaking directly to you, my dear Libra. Then comes on the position of the Magician, the Serpent. And the Serpent comes with the number 46, and the 4 is taking responsibility and the magic that he brings. And you see he has all 4 elements on the table: the cup, the wand, the sword, the pentacle, and of course he has the infinite aid. And for me he looks a little bit like a cowboy, right? It's really interesting. And of course the most important one is the caduceus here on his chest, and how he's holding his hands in front of him, completely emerged with his eyes closed, and above him Mercury, right, the messenger. And so the Gemini is connected with Mercury, and so the snake, the serpent snake of sexuality, of creativity, is calling you. And of course here we have a 6, which is then again connecting with the 6 of Gemini. So Gemini is bringing to you something unexpected, that you are again facing a situation, maybe a relationship, a communication here that is bringing you to a place of, well, when I understand what it's all about in sexuality, and that's of course always a little bit like, well, we need an opposite, we need a partner when we want to experience the higher form of sexuality. When I calculate these numbers now all together here on this position, right, then I get actually an 11, because the 4 and the 6 is a 10, and the 1 with the Magician is an 11, and that's a portal. You getting a creativity push in seeing how the one and only energy that we all seeking is actually manifesting then here through a sexual encounter, maybe through opening yourself up to the process of being creative. Then on the position of the High Priestess comes here the 5 of Wands. And the High Priestess, you see how she is really beautiful and lovely. She has the half moon as almost horns on her head. She's in this light blue colored dress, and she's holding the cup in front of her heart. And interesting enough, the intuition within you is being challenged by the 5 of Wands, which is the Lord of Strife. And the Lord of Strife brings Saturn in Leo to you. And Saturn in Leo is like really connected with Capricorn, right? Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, by the stern, by the finger, by the ancient ones, right? We have done it like this, and this is how we will do it again. And so Saturn in Leo, it's like okay, let's test here a little bit all these rules and regulations. And you see how here two lion heads are here, and it's a very interesting card, right? I'm really again and again always amazed how we recognize in these cards so many empowerment. And so here there is actually a testing, but also sometimes a sexual cruelty that is happening here. And this is what this is, of course, bringing, right? A little bit of what's going on here. Then, of course, you see now here on the chest of the magician, you see this symbol up here, the two wings with the sun. And so there is something that you are learning by testing your strength, by testing your creativity, by testing yourself. Constantly being tested through the creative process that the magic brings to you. If you step into this realm and if you start actually being interested in a tarot, you are interested in empowering yourself. And so this is what's coming clearly to you. So then on the position of the Empress, you get the World, and you get a 3/3 portal right away. Though here we have a 2 and a 1 first, right? And the 2 again is the High Priestess. And on the High Priestess, your intuition is being tested. Right? And then the 1, you have through the Magician, the Serpent. So there is your creativity and your intuition is being tested. And so the World is waiting for you as that 0 and as that 1 that is speaking to you. And you see that the Empress and the World are now creating a 6. And the 6 is again Gemini. So Gemini is, I guess, pushing your buttons a little bit, because it is as well an air sign, right? So 2 air signs coming together. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of talking happening. And so here you give birth to new ideas into the world, into the consciousness of the world, into the consciousness of, yes, I am recognizing here this little bird over her left shoulder. And again, it's this higher consciousness that is bringing the caduceus and this little sign here to us, right? And so you are noticing now that consciousness is wanting to be experienced constantly in the challenge. And so don't think of this as something difficult. Make fun of it, right? Enjoy the process in it. Because then on the position of the Lovers comes the 3 of Swords. Now, the 3 of Swords speaks about Saturn in Libra, and we had Saturn in Leo. And it's a completely different story, but you recognize now the 5 of Wands, Saturn in Leo, is giving you the empowerment to recognize that you are able to push your intuition, to test your intuition. Now you are being pushed to notice that Gemini is actually making you see that certain love stories can also be cruel, can also be harsh. But this is also in Aleister Crowley's a world pain. And since the World now is next to this card, I don't see it as love relationship or a situation where they sometimes say, well, there is 2 women and 1 man, or 2 men and 1 woman. I don't see that. I think you are feeling the pain of the world. You are feeling that, yes, even though she gives birth to all creation, right, because she's the Empress, she is the understanding, she is Binah in the Kabbalistic tree of life, and of course in the chakra system she is the power to actually give empowerment to all creations. So here you are noticing something, that there is also a lot of suffering in this world, and it's sometimes just because the dualities exist, not just a relationship. But of course it begins in a relationship. It begins in not understanding your opposite, not understanding that the other one might hold on to you, right? And you're like, I don't want you to hold on to me. But there is this natural flow of inhale and exhale, and the exhale is not saying, well, I don't let go of you, I don't exhale because, you know, it's not good, or I don't inhale. But there is this natural process within us that everything is duality, and through duality we are existing, and the inhale gives place to the exhale, and the exhale gives place to the inhale. And so now you are facing a little bit of a challenge, a world pain, a situation that now you're also, of course, getting this new queen that is like cut off the ego, right? Before you were like, okay, I'm leading the way. Then on the position of the Queen of Swords, which is in the center of this reading, comes the Five of Wands again. And you see now that the Three of Swords is framed with this push, with this challenge, with Saturn in Leo, the creativity. And we had the Leo reading just before the Virgo reading, right? So maybe there is a message in there. But Saturn again is that finger, is that elder, is that, okay, don't play. But this is what we have to do. We have to play to recognize, well, we learned through playing, but now you see here are two hands giving each other this beautiful way of, well, I have to and I have to, then together we create a one. And that's also the one inside. She is gotta recognize that this heartache, this heart throb, right? The three in the heart throb, in the heartache, is actually now also something that you are gonna learn tremendously from it. That this pain in the world, the pain in the world is necessary sometimes for us to come out of very clear and difficult situation. Then on the position of justice, look at that, comes the Prince of Swords. And the Prince of Swords is Gemini, right? Is the Knight of Swords, is the one that is now bringing to you the understanding that this sword, this deep empowerment through the mind, through the active mind, right? Because you are the Queen of Swords, but you are rather sitting on your throne. And here he has a chariot. Here he has these two angels, like the twins, right? Because it's the twins, it's Gemini, right? And so you are learning that he is actually running into the left spinning path, into the soul path, and he's coming at you and he's saying, well, have a look at all the things that you think you can be just about, because there is no justice, right? That's what Aleister Crowley always says. There is no justice. There just is the duality giving place for each other. There is this infinite giving and taking. And so you are being challenged to recognize that, right? Going into the mental, I take action, I want to know. This is then calculated together 10 wands, and 10 wands is then, of course, also an oppression. And you gotta learn to work with that, learn to handle that, right? And so here comes Gemini and helping you to be in your center, helping you to learn. Then comes on the position of the moon, this dream oracle, the number 55. You see the 2 5s are in there. The Father Gate, bold step forward. Now this is, of course, the moon's evolution out of the water, over land, up into the sky, here into the phase that is looking at the soul path. We come down here into this world and don't recognize or realize that we have actually a path to go, right? A path to evolve and to grow, and we are in a fog. Sometimes we are not recognizing that behind the fog there is an opening. And so these 2 5s are speaking here to you in this 5-5 portal. So then you have 4 times the 5, and 4 times the 5 is the heart is in the learning of you have to communicate. You have to learn to speak your mind, because that's what Gemini is bringing to you, the communication with the partner. And the one partner that is here is the Queen of Pentacles, right? She is here. Then of course there is you, and of course there is a Gemini. So communicate, right? Because you are evolving through that, and you are taking then bold steps forward. Like you see here through Gemini, you are gonna be like, okay, I am recognizing that I am going into the center of the reading, into the fact that I have 2 times the 5 of Wands, right? Saturn in Leo. I am being challenged to see that my creativity or my ideas are important, and that I'm bringing them into the world. And then the gate opens up, and then you are noticing that you are evolving up here into the light, here into this light, right? And of course, on the position of the Justice, which is in the moon, came here this beautiful energy, right? The Gemini. And Gemini's sun's rays are actually giving you now the power to communicate about things that might have been difficult before. And then comes on the position of the Sun, which is in Gemini, here the pressure, the transformation that you are then going through, a transformation that is being pushed by Gemini, the Sun in Gemini, right? And so you are recognizing that communication is key. Communication is key and makes you step into a new realm, a realm that you haven't recognized before, because always this moment is this moment, and then the next moment is a new moment, and it has never existed before. And then you let go of what has been behind you. And you know that on the position of the Sun came this. So she is facing the soul path. She does understand that there is a lot of suffering in this world, and that you are learning through that. But now you're going into the human path, and the human path is bringing on the position of the universe or the world, right? Which is a very beautiful card here, the 10 of Swords. And the 10 of Swords, I'm just going to put this down for a moment. 10 of Swords, look at that. Her face and her dress are the same. It's almost like you are seeing now that the 3 swords and the 10 swords create 13 swords. That's a death. That's a real death, a real transformation, which then creates the 4. And the 4 is the responsibility that you are taking to be now newly conscious, because this Ten of Swords is Sun in Gemini. And the Sun in Gemini is bringing a shift in our mental consciousness, in our mental thinking. And the whole world is going to feel it, because this is a 3 as well. And so there is a 13 with these two cards as well. And see how beautiful the world looks, is painted here. I mean, these are very spiritual cards in a way that it's showing us the old way of the Golden Dawn, right? How they created like a mandala inside of these colors that are coming together. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 circles. And those are the 12 zodiac signs, and the Sun in the center. And again, it's the 0 and the 1 and the 4 fixed signs, which is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, right? And so you are learning big time. And it's really interesting, because I see now that the Queen of Swords is seeing this, is seeing your transformation. It's almost like pushing your transformation, and you are being challenged, right, to learn to awaken and to learn to see that there are other characters in this month that are pushing your buttons. But it's good, because you're going to liberate yourself, because this is the dark night of the soul, right? This is what Sun in Gemini brings to you, but the whole world is feeling it, right? Not only you. And so the transformation that the Sun is bringing you is huge, because you are going to be able to go through quite a heartache, because this is Saturn in Libra. This is you, right? This is your suffering that you sometimes feel. And so here you are awakening to a whole new you, and you have someone that is helping you, a Capricorn that is just there witnessing it and just helping you to get through all of that. Wow, what a beautiful reading, right? And of course, remember this, right? Here you have the number 53, and it's interesting because this is the 26, and so this heartache, this heart throb, right, that you're experiencing is leaving you, because you are transforming, you're finding a creative outlet now to release that painful moment that has pushed you to awaken, pushed you to see that, well, certain difficult situations are sometimes necessary for us to grow, for us to awaken, right? To really awaken, because I mean, this is like the number 13, the 1, the sexual energy that is challenging us, and the 3, which is the world that is here, right, to push you and to make you grow and to make you awaken to you, right, to things that are, yes, intense and difficult, but also this is the natural push and challenge of the 2 5s. And of course the 2 5s are gonna give you then the portal into the next step, right? The portal that is then helping you to go through this transformation and be like, okay, I am letting go, I am opening myself completely, because I don't want this to control me. And you have even help through a Capricorn that is looking at you and is saying, okay, that's part of this social status also sometimes that we want to achieve. And so think about it. Do you really need that? Do you really want that? Wow. Okay, so I hope I see you in the next reading, because then the Earth spins in such a way that we see behind the Sun the constellation Scorpio. And Scorpio is the love, a deep, deep love, right? So we will see what Scorpio is then helping you to also go through sometimes transformation, but we had the 13 already here, which is Scorpio, right? Until then, I thank you so much for being with me. Namaste.